What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Today we're continuing with our 32-team 7-round mock draft series with the team that of the 27th of March holds on to the 30th overall pick in the first round, and that is the Minnesota Vikings, the runners-up in the NFC. And boy, oh boy, has there been a large segment of your fans that have been absolutely unbearable. Whiny, salty, going into the season, Minnesota Viking fans might be the second worst group of fans after the Dallas Cowboy fans. I know that's not norm. I know there's lots of Minnesota Viking fans that follow me on Twitter that are chill. There's lots of you guys that watch this video. But like you just saw, when you watch any of the videos I did hyping up that Eagles-Viking game, the dislikes were coming in when I said the Eagles were going to control them and win that game. And it's just a real salty, whiny fan base for the vocal minority, I will say that. And the whole, Philadelphia Eagle fans were mean. And oh my God, grow up and accept the loss. Every other team has accepted their loss, except the Vikings fans. And I could say, if you're a Vikings fan that are, you're still a little upset about the Eagles game and stuff like that, it wasn't even close. If it was a close game, had a couple calls go maybe the Eagles' way, yeah, you could be a little bit upset, and I wouldn't blame you, because I'd be the exact same. But when you get the just brakes beaten off you, move on. Stop trying to draw attention to the fact that you got beat by a backup quarterback. Moving on, though, to all the good Viking fans, I know there's a lot of you out there. You guys are looking pretty scary. So before we jump into the mock draft and you look at what you guys did via free agency to get better, and you probably got as better, great English, as better as any team did via free agency. So look at what they brought in. They landed the biggest fish. I still think Andrew Norwell, in terms of talent, was the biggest fish, but they landed the biggest fish in quarterback Kirk Cousins. Definitely an upgrade over Case Keenum. Is it enough upgrade to get them over that hump? I don't know about that one, but he definitely, looking at via, where they're going to pick in the draft or who they could bring in, he's the best quarterback the Vikings possibly could have on the roster going into next season. They got in Trevor Siemian to be his backup. They brought in Sheldon Richardson, sniped him away from the Seattle Seahawks. Great piece of business. It looks like my boy from Florida, Shreve Floyd, probably is done with his career. They lost Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford, Case Keenum. They pretty much moved on from all those QBs. They lost Joe Berger for retirement, and the biggest loss definitely for me is Jerick McKinnon, but ultimately he's replaceable because Dalvin Cook should be healthy, and then you have a nice little, Dalvin Cook, Latavius Murray. That's a pretty good two-headed running back attack, and it feels like your clear pass-catching back. We'll address that in the draft. So, looking at the draft at pick 30, I am selecting offensive guard, offensive lineman Isaiah Wynn from Georgia. Looking at where he's going to fit on the roster, I think he can walk in and start at either guard spot, right guard, left guard. Currently, according to NFL depth charts on our lads, left guard's a competition between Josh Andrews, who I'm pretty sure was a former Philadelphia Eagle. It was terrible, unless I'm mistaking this. I think he was. He was terrible. They got Tom Compton, Danny Isadora, who's actually not bad from Miami last year, a 5th-round pick. But either way, Isaiah Wynn, who played a little left tackle, undersized to be a left tackle in the NFL, but I think he still gives you versatility that, he could be an emergency left tackle. But as far as an interior offensive lineman, he's right there in the grouping. Maybe not so much as Quentin Nelson, but I think really close with Will Hernandez for that, the second best, laying the claim to that. Either way, I think he's a day one starter, and when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, the interior of the offensive line is definitely the big glaring weakness. So you're getting best player available, and you're filling a need at the same time. It's a home run pick in the first round. Go to the second round at pick 62. I was selecting defensive back MJ Stewart from North Carolina. When you look at their defense, really good defense. I think ultimately you kind of need nickel corner competition. I don't know if they view 2016 second round pick Mackensie Alexander, who was pretty damn good coming out of Clemson. Seems like a lot of Viking fans don't see him as the replacement Terrence Newman. I don't know for what reason, but I think a guy like MJ Stewart is pretty much your build for a nickel corner. Plus, he gives you some safety versatility. A lot of scouts believe he could make the transition to safety at some point, so then he could be top safety depth to Harrison Smith. He could, maybe if you want to move on from Anderson Dale, because it's going to be only a matter of time till the Vikings salary cap issues probably will creep up with that massive deal with Kirk Cousins, where they're going to have to make some tough decisions. And I'm not saying Harrison Smith probably is going to be fine, but maybe Sendejo could be on the chopping block. Or, maybe Trey Waynes won't get that extension, and you need that help at cornerback. So I think, for what he could help this year, being Terrence Newman's potential replacement, and long-term for the scope of their secondary, I think MJ Stewart in the second round is a very nice pick. Moving to the third round, pick 94. The guy that I've got in my beef with on Twitter this year. Last year, it was Aaron Jones, the running back of the Vikings. This year, it's not really nearly as heated. But in the third round, pick 94, linebacker Darius Leonard from South Carolina State. Looking at the roster, I think he could come in and be will linebacker number 2, compete with Ben Gideon for some snaps. Hell, he might be able to play a little interior with Eric Kendricks and Kentrell Brothers. Ultimately, man, I just don't think he's a great athlete, a good enough athlete, but he has decent length, good instincts, tackles a little bit high, but still is a solid prospect. Small level of competition, so I think that might be a little bit of a learning curve, but when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, more so at this spot, they're grabbing depth on the defensive front with guys that has potential to fill in. I think Darius Leonard might be a little bit of a slow burner, but can chip in on special teams right away and provide that much-needed depth at the linebacker spot. Going to the 5th round pick, 167, maybe an eyebrow-raising pick here, but I think it makes sense because their punting game was near the bottom, I believe, with Quigley. Is a draft Michael Dixon, the punter from Texas, comes in as punter 1. He is being regarded right now as the best punter since like Shane Lechler came out. He's even been regarded better than Brian Angerer, who I think was a 3rd round pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He basically, not even trolling, Texas fans were saying he was like their MVP this season. He pretty much was like an all-star in their bowl game. So I just feel like, when you're a team that's pretty much as stacked as the Minnesota Vikings, get better on special teams. Get complete in all 3 facets of the game. It looks like with Marcus Sherrills, I mean, if they lose him, he's currently unsigned. That's a big loss to their special teams because he's one of the better punt returners and return men in the game. But when you look at a punter, if you can get a guy that can constantly put the team and pin the team in the, in the 20, within the 20, money. So I think that this is a luxury pick for the Vikings because they're good and you get the best skill position player by a mile in this year's draft class. Going to the 6th round where they have 3 6th-round picks. First up at 204, I was selecting offensive guard Tyrone Crowder from Clemson. Looking at the roster, I think he could be offensive guard 3 under the assumption Isaiah Wynn will play left, Isadora will play right. And then, he's pretty much going to be your top rotational guy. He didn't go to the combine. At his pro day, put up 32 reps on the bench press. Great strength. Obviously at Clemson, he's been, protecting for Wayne Gallman, Deshaun Watson. Last year, maybe not so much good quarterbacks, but ultimately he is really, really solid in both facets of pass pro and run pro. And I think he, for a 6th round pick, could get some valuable minutes out of him for the Vikings. Let's be honest, man. I'm going to be the Vikings the last couple of years. I've been big fans of their drafts, and they draft particularly well in the back end of the draft. So I think that this is a nice little fit. Let's look at their Clemson products. J-Ron Curse, Mackensie Alexander. It's another one. Going to their 2nd 6th-round pick at 213, I'm selecting wide receiver Quadri Henderson from Pitt, your gadget-type player for the offense. 5'8", like 195 pounds. Didn't test particularly well. I've seen some mock draft sites have him going between the 4th and 5th, just because he, what was he, like a 4'6", 4'5", like high 4'5", high 4'6". That's not good for a guy that's a little undersized. Anytime I see that now, because I'm an Eagle fan, I kind of get flashbacks to Donnell Pumphrey. So when I see Quadri Henderson, though, he does give you that special teams ability, especially if Marcus Sherrills does not return. He still is really good with the ball in his hands and field. He has good agility, side-by-side, ball carrier vision if we're trying to relate it to Madden terms. But ultimately, he's everything that you need in a special teams weapon. I think in the 6th round, getting that, plus a guy that might be able to challenge Stacey Collie for some wide receiver snaps, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. It's a nice little value pick here for the Vikings in the 6th round. Moving to the final 6th round pick, 218, I was selecting running back Philip Lindsay from Colorado. Running back 3, I believe, in the roster. Lost Jerick McKinnon. Ultimately, Dalvin Cook can catch. He's not a liability on 3rd downs and stuff like that. But I think for your pure, just from that aspect of the offense, I think John DeFilippo, coming from Philadelphia, probably wants that 3-headed running back attack. And no, you got Mack Brown from my Florida Gators. He's serviceable. But I think ultimately Philip Lindsay, who ran 4.35, 4.37, something like that at his pro day, undersized, shiftier back. Fits the mold of a Jerick McKinnon in terms of his play style. Obviously, Jerick McKinnon put up some pretty godly looking combine numbers, like good speed, like the highest bench press. Definitely not getting that same type of power, but I think Phil Lindsay, in terms of the shiftier, speedier back, can fill that void, which is pretty much what Jerick McKinnon minus injury, where he had to fill in for the starter, was. So that's just bringing back another dimension to the Vikings offense that they kind of lost, and pretty much the only dimension to their offense that they lost via free agency. And then finish out the draft here in the 7th round pick, 225. Let's look at cornerback Jamarcus King from South Carolina. I think he can chip in on special teams as a rookie, try to fill in for that maybe full corner 5, corner 4 role. NFL.com has him as a 5th round draft projection. He's a long cover corner that needs help from safeties, according to his scouting report. And what better team that if you could be productive, but you need kind of be in a good scheme, a good system with good players around you. There you go, the Minnesota Vikings. He gets pretty much as good as it's going to get when it comes to safeties. You have the best safety in the NFL in Harrison Smith, and probably a top 15, fringe top 15, top 20 safety in Sadehow, who's, nothing spectacular, but he's good at what he's good at tackling. He's good at forcing fumbles. I think they call him like the missile or something like that, nickname. But ultimately, I think Jamarcus King here, a guy that's, 5th round talent projected on a lot of sites, still sitting there in the 7th round, best player available. Get him to crack in on the special teams, and is kind of a scheme fit for what they're doing there in Minnesota. So there you go, guys. That is my 7th-round mock draft for the Minnesota Vikings. As always, if you agree or disagree with any of the picks you saw today, let me know in the comment section below. If you have your own Minnesota Vikings draft, feel free to post that in the comments. We can do a nice little side-by-side. If it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying stay salty, Vikings fans. Actually, don't, because you're becoming really, really annoying.